Hello, my beautiful friends. Welcome back to my channel. I know I was away for a little bit. I actually just tried to record this video and I didn't like the way it was going, so I stopped and I'm now re-recording it and I feel a little better. Anytime I go away for a little bit and I have to re-record, it's always like a stumble for me to get back into my bearings. So, today we will be talking about projecting. If you don't know what projecting is, I'm not talking about projecting something onto a screen. I'm not talking about projecting like singing or making your voice louder. I am talking about projecting our own insecurities, traumas, pains, and past hurts onto other people and situations. If you have experienced this or you know someone who has, or you're dealing with someone who's done this with you, I will be going over what projecting is, my experience. I'm going to share a story with you, and how I now navigate it and get through it. Hello, welcome. Sit down, grab your tea, grab your coffee. You know, today I got my matcha. In my last video, I was dangerously caffeinated, so we decided to calm it down today. If you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Sabby and this is Beautifully Broken. It's a platform I started a few years ago to help heal my own mental health and in turn help other people. I give tips, tools, knowledge, and guidance based on my own experiences. I also have a podcast called Proper Madness. It's on Spotify and Apple Podcast. So, if you like mental health podcasts and you suffer with your mental health or you know someone who does, then I definitely recommend subscribing. Please subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything and it lets me know that you enjoy what I'm doing, and it'll also notify you when I post new videos. Ah yes, projecting. We all do it. We've all done it. We all probably still do it. Half the time when we project our own insecurities, pains, and hurts onto other people or situations, we're not aware that we're actually doing it. It comes from this subconscious background noise in our head of almost like a repeating story that we haven't broken yet, and that's kind of stuck in a loop and a cycle. So, when we're projecting, we're responding out of that cycle. In my experience, I did this for a really, really long time. I still do it a little bit, but I'm aware that I'm doing it. But it took me a really long time to get there. So when I explain to you my experience with it and how I got through it, I don't want you to feel like you're not doing it right if you don't get it the first couple times. I think as long as we're aware of it, that's what matters. So to really break it down, projecting is when you respond emotionally to something in a way that's either very, very heightened, or it's almost like you're responding to a past experience, not what's happening right in front of you. A lot of us see certain things in our lives based off of what we're going through. It's very difficult to walk through life and see things as they are all the time if we've been through a lot of trauma in our life and we still haven't healed from it. Then at that point, our point of view of what we're experiencing in our day-to-day and in our now is going to be from the lens of those traumas. So when we're reacting from a different lens that we're seeing through, it's really hard to see what's actually going on or how someone's actually feeling or how they're really thinking or any of that. I myself have projected in friendships, relationships, work, day-to-day settings. And it gets exhausting because at one point you just kind of sit there and go, man, like, I really just want to experience and see things as they are as opposed to this loop and cycle that I'm still stuck in. I'd say a really good way to explain what projecting is, you know that infamous quote that if you haven't healed from something, you're going to bleed on everyone else? That is what projecting is. Projecting is essentially bleeding on everyone else because you haven't healed a wound that you have. I'd say the most relevant way that I could explain it is friendships and relationships, even work. I will see how someone treats me and automatically assume things about them. And that's unfair to them if they haven't voiced any of the things that I am currently assuming. So, projecting is assuming that we know what someone else thinks before they've even had a chance to explain it. Or have even had a chance to be themselves. If we're constantly looking and viewing people in a lens that is of a character that we're depicting in our own head as opposed to who they actually are, that's wildly unfair to them and us. Then it doesn't give us a chance to really get to know people, really understand a situation, or really live in the present. I'm gonna tell you a story. Are we surprised? Not really. But stay with me on this story because I feel like it accurately depicts how I have dealt with someone else who has been projecting, and also how it comes from in my point of view. Projecting is almost like a defense mechanism. I feel like much of our emotional responses are because we're scared to experience the same pain that we felt before. So, like anxiety and overthinking, our brain goes, oh, we know what this is. Okay, we already know the story. We know how it's going to end. This is how we're going to respond to it. But every situation and every person is different. So we can't judge people, situations, or experiences based on what we have experienced in the past. Every moment is different. Every moment is different if we choose for it to be different. In my dating life, I currently now actually have a lot of trust issues, and I wasn't aware of it until recently. A friend of mine actually told me, she was like, Sabby, you used to be so trusting of like every guy that you would date. You'd always give them the benefit of the doubt. You'd always see the best in them. And I was like, yeah. She goes, now you don't. And I'm like, well, that's because, I was hurt really badly. So it's very difficult for me to trust people, but this is how I project my own insecurities onto the people that I'm dating. I don't give people a chance at all, and that's not fair to them or me, because then how do I expect to meet someone that's right for me? Just to preface this, though, there's a difference between seeing red flags and knowing that there's something wrong in a dynamic versus projecting. Projecting is having no shred of proof at all or verbal confirmation from another person about the assumptions you're making about them. Okay. Projecting is assuming. Red flags in people, situations, and scenarios, there's proof. Like, you have tangible proof in front of you that, okay, this is what this is, and this is why I should avoid it. And then you got your intuition. So it's hard to distinguish between the three, right? But if you've seen my intuition versus trauma trigger video, then it's easier to distinguish. For me, projecting is if I'm feeling insecure about myself physically, I tend to project that onto people that I am dating. Now, because I have this really weird thing where I nitpick the way that I look to a T. I mean, like, everything, every flaw. Now, when I'm dating someone or about to go on a date with them or whatever, I'll initially go, oh, I think they're attractive. Then all of a sudden, I'm nitpicking every single thing about them physically and wondering if I even find them attractive. That is projecting. I'm projecting what I feel about myself onto another person. The second way of projecting is projecting what we've already experienced in the past into a new situation. Dating. I was talking to someone a while ago that I really liked, and I projected my own trust issues onto this poor man mentally. I mean, I didn't take anything out on him, thank goodness, but I still kind of do it. Like, if someone's showing me that they're interested in me and they're consistent and then all of a sudden they stop, I project my own pain onto them mentally, and I respond with, oh no, they're playing a game, they're not that into me, blah 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 blah. It just, my brain will just go. That's also projecting, because has this happened enough times for me to go, okay, that's a problem? No, this only happened one time. So if it only happens once and you're already making all these assumptions about it, projecting. The third way that I've projected is in experiences, like with friendships. But I won't even like step into the experience. I'll make an assumption about it before it's even happened. So, for me, this is with friendships. I haven't had the best luck with female friendships in my life. Now I do. But I used to be really jealous, really insecure, incredibly codependent, and very needy, just as a female friend. I'd always need constant reassurance from my friends that I was pretty, that I was doing the right thing in my life, what have you. Now, as I got older and started healing from my past and healing myself, that's not something I struggle with anymore. I don't feel jealousy anymore. I don't feel threatened anymore by any sort of female. If they're more successful than me, I don't even compare myself. Like, don't do that. So, I wouldn't even like enter a friendship if the girl was, this sounds bad, prettier than me, more successful than me, or had something that I have always wanted. And mentally, I would always accuse them of being jealous of me, when in reality, I was jealous of them. So how I would act would be very aloof, very distant. I'd constantly blame the other person for their behaviors when, again, like, if people aren't doing something that definitively tells you that they're jealous of you, this is an example, that they're jealous of you or whatever, then you have no reason to assume or think that unless you've experienced something in the past that mirrors that situation. Easier to assume the worst about a situation or a person based on what we've been through before and how we see ourselves, because it's easier for us to understand. How we feel about ourselves is how we see other people half the time. If you're insecure, jealous, hot-headed, we're gonna view other people that way. There's someone in my family who still projects to this day based off of the experiences that he has had in his life. If someone exhibits certain behavior, then he automatically responds and reacts in a certain way to them, but half the time we're like, yo, you're talking about yourself, you're not talking about us. How we really think and feel about ourselves is how we respond and react and treat other people. You know, there's another very famous quote, how someone feels about themselves is how they will treat you. That is projecting in its simplest terms. If you don't feel good about yourself, you're not going to treat other people very well, and you're always going to see them from a lens of how you see yourself. And the way to get through projecting is to heal those parts of yourself that have experienced the traumas that you haven't faced yet. I think when we don't want to face certain people or certain scenarios make us nervous, it's because parts of ourselves that we haven't even began to face are scared for us to even look within. So my advice to you is heal yourself. If you heal yourself and you heal the traumas that have hurt you the most, and that's how you just start. You can't heal every single trauma all in one go. A lot of the times when I was really depressed, I never felt heard or understood by anyone else. But here's the thing, people were listening, people were trying to understand me, but the only person that truly didn't was myself. And I was projecting that onto everyone else. Before you assume that you know someone, or that you know what they're thinking, or what they're thinking about you, or what they're gonna do, stop and ask yourself if that's how you feel about you. 9 times out of 10, that's what it is. I think the true way to stop projecting is to rid ourselves of our ego. Our ego projects. Our ego projects to protect. It's like a way to distract your mind from dealing with yourself. So you project onto other people. That's easier. Like let me see everyone else as all these flaws that I have within myself so that I can avoid healing them. I used to have one friend that would always say that she felt like I was poor to receiving criticism, which I know for a fact is not true. In fact, I can tell you all my friends, including my own father and any teacher I've ever had, tells me that I take criticism really well because that's all I dealt with growing up. So, when I gave her criticism back, all of a sudden she ghosted me. How does that make sense, right? Me, I wanted to sit there and really understand why she thought that or where it came from, and I wanted to have a dialogue. She ghosted me. So just based on that behavior, I knew she was projecting. That's how you can kind of tell when someone else is projecting onto you is you know yourself the best. You know yourself very well. If someone's accusing you of something and saying that you're a certain way and you just know, you're like, no, what? Excuse me? That makes no sense. I wish we could all just see each other as we actually are. But that takes work. That takes understanding yourself. If you don't understand yourself, how the heck do you expect to understand anyone else? That's all I have for you guys today. I hope that video made sense. Write down all your insecurities. Write down all your insecurities and then ask yourself, are those also things that you're insecure about in other people? Let's see what happens. Please be sure to subscribe, like, and share this with someone who you think it may help. Comment below any experiences that you have had with projecting, or any ways that you have seen projecting and you didn't know how to deal with it, anything. Words of wisdom, thoughts, all of the above. But other than that, remember, you have to get through the eye of the storm to see the clear day ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next time.